Ignition liftoff. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Right, before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you get to, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to share it to your group chat. Back by popular demand. We loved your lunchbox. You were the first ever lunchbox.
I was.
And we loved it so much. And I just think it kind of has really spiraled the conversation into what a life coach is. And obviously we broke that down before, but also I think people really understanding the need
To have one.
Yeah. But obviously it's not something that everybody can access. So I thought it would be such a good idea to do a Q&A where we have listeners' questions and you kind of really dig into those.
I'm
and
excited.
give a good bit of feedback. But we loved it. We love you so much. So are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
This is going to be like a real rocket round.
marathon. Like marathon of questions.
Absolutely that. The first one I think is a really good place to start is I'm about to start my own business. How do I know which area to focus on first?
So, because when I'm coaching someone, I can dig in and really figure out, okay, what is the business? Where are you trying to take it? All of those things. We don't have this information here.
Yes.
So I will still give information that is somewhat generic, but actually so specific, because I think everybody needs to do this.
Okay.
So what it is you need to first figure out what is the business I'm building. As in, what is the goal? What is the specific goal that I'm trying to achieve with this business?
Right.
Once you have that, reverse engineer the process and do the research to figure out how you get to that specific goal. Because there could be a million things you want to do with the business. Have one. Just one main thing, which makes people sick. Because they're like, I want to do this and this and this. I'm like, no, just pick
Yeah,
one.
'cause it spirals, doesn't it?
And that one thing, I call it a future self goal. That one thing is the thing that makes everything else either irrelevant or more possible. It's in the book, The One Thing. Can't remember who wrote it, but it's basically about really zeroing on one intention. So I'd say figure out what is the one goal you want for your business and then reverse engineer that process, create a pathway from where you are to that goal. Be clear on that. You do not need to know every single step because as you take steps, I believe clarity comes from action. So the more you do, the more you'll figure out how to do more. But just have a clear kind of view. Imagination is really important in business. So is information. Marry the two together. See where you need to go. Be clear on what the steps are. And then take the first part of that, actually order the steps. So then you have all these different steps, put it in one clear line and say, okay, I'm going to go from here to here on this route.
Right.
Then take the first step.
So almost like the first step is working backwards from the last step, almost like the end.
Yeah. So you have the end in mind. Start everything with the end in mind, right? So have the end in mind. Be clear on, okay, the possible path that can get me there. Be committed to that path and then be clear again on the first step of that path.
Yes.
And where a lot of people go wrong is they try to do the first 5 steps at once, all together, with no team.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you.
So true.
Yeah. And you've completely overwhelmed yourself.
Before you've even begun. And I think that is, you're right. The overwhelm is, I think, is the main route that puts everybody on pause. And you think, I'll do that in a minute because it's quite overwhelming. I'll think about that next month.
Yeah.
Oh, next year I'm going to start that. Well, you could start now.
Exactly.
If you had more clarity.
And even on the topic of overwhelm, we spoke about in the last conversation, every emotion comes from your thought, not the circumstance.
Yes.
Every emotion. So if you feel overwhelmed, it's not because the situation is overwhelming. It's because of what your brain is telling you about the situation. So then you have to stop and think, okay, I'm overwhelmed. Why? Not the situation. It's what I'm thinking. And what I'm thinking is there's so much to do.
Yes.
Okay. Well, change that thought. Make it a thought that doesn't create overwhelm for you, right? So the thought can be, this is such an exciting journey. So that's just to eradicate overwhelm. Eradicate every emotion. There's no prescribed emotion. We spoke about this last time for any situation. So you can completely have an amazing business journey with no overwhelm based on your thinking. But back to the question, take that first step, literally, and then break down that first step even further. So we just keep breaking things down.
Yes.
We're just breaking it down. So you go big and wide. What is the big goal? create the pathway, get clear on that pathway, marry information and imagination so you know how to do it, but you can also see yourself doing it. Then take the first step of that thing and then just do that. And if you want to take it even further, break it down even further, put it in like a quarterly plan. So say for the next 3 months, I'm only doing this one thing. And that one thing can be like creating the social media, getting clear on the customer, and doing product market fit, let's say, for example, and you just go all in on that first step, and you're like 3 months, which means consistent posting, which means maybe some customer interviews, which means testing out some things on social media. It can mean putting the product in different environments and see how people interact with it, and just stick to that for the time that you've set.
Yes.
And just keep going with it. And then the next step, you know what the next step is, and then slowly introduce that.
Yeah.
Do not overwhelm yourself.
It's like forward planning, isn't it? Really forward planning, but and sticking to that. And of course, that course of action will always change.
It will change.
But
Yeah.
giving yourself that starting, and we're off.
Clarity. It's like
Yeah.
the mental clarity. And then what happens is you leave room for serendipity, for the things that you can't even plan for.
Yeah.
And also the bad things.
And I think it does quite quickly become clear as you're doing that, and as that plan is evolving, it does become clear what you need to focus on more.
Exactly.
It kind of rolls
What is
out.
essential
And it's a bit
will
of a domino
reveal itself.
effect,
Exactly,
isn't it?
yeah.
Okay. Next question is, this is a good one. Do you have an advice on how to make an idea happen when you're scared to start? It goes back to those steps, but the being scared to start. I find that quite, because I know that that's a really common thing, but actually, you don't want to be scared when you're about to start something you love. That's not an emotion that you want to feel.
I actually think, okay, this is how I'll describe it.
Yeah.
There's no emotion that's a bad emotion.
Right.
Even though
But what I mean is,
some...
we don't, as humans, we don't like to be scared, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something that you're like, I'm desperate
But
to
we
do this.
do. When I was like learning coaching, when I was training, and I
Right.
learned with the life coach school, Brooke Castillo, she's incredible. She said people choose to be scared all the time. As in, you will go and sit in the cinema and watch a horror movie. That is a
I
choice.
am not that girl.
Yeah, neither am I.
Check me out of that. Like, you're so right, because I will talk to my husband and he'll be like, we have to watch this tonight.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. It's amazing. Rochelle, it's so good. We have to watch it. I'm like, define good. I'm going to bed anxious. I now can't sleep because I think there's a boogeyman under my bed. Like, why are we doing
Exactly.
this?
So that's not for you. But if you did choose to watch it, it just means that you're choosing fear intentionally.
Yes.
So I would say fear is not inherently a bad thing, because if it's measured and controlled, where you're watching a movie and you know it's not real, it's okay. Whatever happens after, right? When you can't sleep and you think that's... But actually, when you're watching it, you're like, I'm scared because I'm watching a movie with actors. It's like
X being rational about why you're scared.
Exactly. So I would say to this person, first of all, your question feels like you're kind of indulging in this fear. So
Yes.
it's a question, but it's not really a question. How do I start when I'm scared to start? Well, do you want to start? Because it's like you're just basking in the fear. So that's one thing. If I was coaching them, I would say just listen to yourself properly. It's almost like you're enjoying the fear a bit too much, and making it more important in this situation. But there is a healthy amount of fear, which is fine. I think we all should have an element of fear in everything we do. And why I say that, I'd liken it to taste. Not taste, sorry, pepper. So when something's spicy, when we're eating it, it's not actually the taste. Pepper, experiencing pepper in your food, and I'm going somewhere with this.
I'm in. I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
It's pain. Pepper is pain. So when someone's like, oh, I can't take spice, it depends on your ability to experience that pain. Pepper is not actually a taste. It's not really flavor. It's your tolerance to that pain. So like flavors are like sweet, spicy, salt. Pepper isn't on that list. It is a tolerance to pain. And we choose. So I really like spicy foods. That means that my tolerance so our tolerance for pain.
I know
is
I've got a high pain threshold.
Exactly.
I do know that, yeah.
So and pain to somebody else is horrible. It's an awful thing. But you're like, oh, I can take pain.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say to fear. So think about it like pepper, where it's like, okay, well, the amount of fear you're experiencing is too much for your tolerance, which means it's causing you to freeze. It's like if you're eating a spicy food.
Yeah.
and it's too spicy, it means that you can't tolerate that amount of pepper. So you can still eat spicy things, but reduce the pepper. So I would say to them, you can still start the business once you reduce the fear. It's okay to have some fear still there.
It's that classic line of feel the fear and do it anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
And don't try and eradicate fear completely. Back to the food analogy, it's like salt's bad for you. But in a healthy moderation, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can have salt in your food. So it's like fear is okay. You can have fear in your life, on your business journey. But the amount you have is not good for you because it's causing you to pause. Right? So it's saying, okay, so her question should be, how do I reduce my fear so that I have a healthy amount of fear that still allows me to take action?
And don't expect that those moments aren't going to be there, because running a business, starting a business, scaling a business, thriving in that business, there's always going to be stuff that you're
always fearful of. Exactly. So just reduce the amount you're experiencing. And then back to what we said before, every emotion comes from your thought.
And then do you think the more that you, like you say, reduce that, do you think then you build that tolerance? Because I really believe that.
You do. You build capacity to experience emotions. So like emotional resilience, basically, which means intentionally putting yourself in situations where you feel that emotion and allowing yourself to experience it so that you grow capacity to just sit with it. It's like you saying Marvin likes scary movies. It's because once upon a time he watched it and he thought, it's not actually that scary. So he's created capacity to watch it. Yeah. Whereas another person's like, no, I can't. I would advise that person, watch it, sit with it, tell yourself some truths about what's happening and create the capacity to experience more of it. Right. So with this lady...
Don't tell that to Marvin, please.
He's going to have you in the cinema.
I'm not sitting and watching that
There's a scary movie in the cinema right now that everyone's going to watch. So let me not say too much because he might force you. But I'd say to this lady, whoever this...
it's all character building, to your said. Build
the emotional capacity. But to this wonderful lady who wants to launch, for now... reduce the fear you're feeling so that you can take action, and do that by practically talking to yourself about what it is you fear. Actually write down what it is you're scared of and prove to yourself why that's not true. There will still be some fear that persists, but bring it down so you can take action. And then once you take action, put yourself in fear-inducing situations to increase capacity for more fear.
And you'll always surprise yourself. Yeah. Like you put yourself out there and actually... I would guarantee like 98% of the time you'll be like, I'm pleased I did that because it wasn't as bad as I was building it up to be, or, it's important. Test yourself. Okay, next one. If you're feeling completely lost in life, where do you start? That's a big question.
It's not that big because whenever I work with people who say things like that, they are expanding a small problem. I don't ever think people are completely lost in life. Do you know how big that is? It means you just can't do anything. Yeah. Which is it's never true. It's never, ever true. No one is completely lost in their entire life. So I would say pinpoint the area. Maybe you feel lost in a few areas. Which one is most pressing, or which one do you feel is more manageable to work on first? Okay. Right? So again, lost, would you say lost is a feeling? Would you say lost is a feeling? I feel lost. Yeah. Yeah, I think
I would say lost is a feeling.
Yeah, it's somewhat...
Because again, it's not... Oh my God, I feel like I'm being like you.
Yeah, I can hear it coming.
I'm learning. No, but it's not neutral, is it? You could feel lost, but for me, that's found. Yeah. Because it depends where you think you should be. Oh my gosh, I've nailed it, guys.
Go, Rochelle.
I've nailed it. It's only taken me 5,000 years.
Yeah, but I would say they're not completely lost. Be careful of I love words. I love language. I'm very particular. My friends hate me for this. But saying I'm completely lost is just exaggerated language. Yeah. And be careful of saying things like that because you drag every area of your life into this bucket. Yeah,
it's quite inflammatory for yourself to talk about, yourself like that. Exactly. That's not going to fill you up.
No. So pinpoint the area where you feel lost and then take steps towards a small step towards just stepping out of that like dark wood or whatever you would call it. Yeah. Just take one small step at a time. Also remind yourself of the areas where you don't feel lost and where actually you can take immediate action to prove to yourself that I'm doing all right.
Yeah, exactly that. And like feeling a little bit more assured. I think one small step and you kind of, that's almost like self-rewarding, isn't it? When you complete something that was feeling quite heavy, then that gives you more motivation for the next and then so on and so on.
Build that momentum.
let's talk about career changes now. This question is, I'm a senior manager at a law firm, but I want to change career at 40. What would your advice be? We've had a couple of these, actually. The second question around career is very similar, that, again, advice for a career change at the age 38. So similar sort of ages.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, actually, that would feel like a big time to change. Would you class 40 as middle-aged now? I mean, I hate that term anyway, but
I think it is.
But it's quite to some, they would find that scary. Like, I should have it figured out by 40. I should have it figured out by 38, which I couldn't disagree with more. I'm like pivot, always the pivot.
Yeah.
I live for that. But it's quite, that can weigh quite heavy.
Especially if you've been in a really predicted route your whole life, like a predicted journey.
Yeah.
So like a lawyer, for example, that's
Yes.
likely something that you've known you wanted to do.
That you've studied
since you were young.
That you've kind of...
Exactly. And every decision you've made. And I would say to that person, congratulations. You have done exactly what I teach, which is you created a vision for your future self and you have taken the steps to become that person. You saw a clear image of lawyer. You went to school for it. When it got hard, you stayed consistent. You passed the bar. You went and got the job. You did all the things, right? Fantastic, amazing. Now create a new vision for a future self, 5-10 years in the future, and just do what you know to do. You're amazing. Like, you've done the hard work already. You've proven that you have grit. You've proven you have imagination, determination, all of the things. Now use that for the next chapter of your life. Don't look at it as, oh my God, I'm lost. Look at it as, I'm going to use all the experience I have to now create the next version of me.
Yes.
And nobody wants to be the same version of themselves forever. It's actually really important that we keep reinventing ourselves.
And I think those kind of years are quite crucial for that. Like that is a kind of a bit of a sort of a mark in the sand where you're like, actually, which is probably where this idea has come from. I don't want to do this forever.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here forever, but actually maybe I should, because I've worked so hard and I've grown at this law firm and, you know, the next step is only beyond this, but actually this isn't what I want. You know, I think it's it's a brave thing to admit.
It's so brave. It is so. And it's, how I see it is, a former version of you decided for a future version of you and got you here.
Yes.
Now, you're the former version of your future self.
Yes,
like,
so let's go again.
Yeah, just do it again. Literally, just
you've
do
done
it
it.
again.
You've proved that you can do it.
Decide again. Like, let's go. I think it's so exciting. What happens, though, is you don't benefit from what I would say a younger person has, which is that, like, ignorance is bliss. You have no idea of the journey. You don't know what's ahead of you. You don't know how hard it's going to be. Find that youthful energy again.
Yeah.
There's women who I look up to who, like Jo Elvin, for example, she was the editor of Glamour.
Her.
Love Jo.
Oh, I love Jo so much.
Editor of Glamour for like 20 plus years. I remember being young, really young, and getting Glamour and seeing her name and then meeting her in my 20s and being like,
she's amazing.
that's my Beyonce. Like,
and I remember what a big deal it was, because we'd known Jo for a long time at that point, and when she left Glamour, that was like, no one could believe it.
Exactly.
Like, why is she leaving Glamour? Why, I believe she went to You magazine from Glamour.
And then I think
it was like
she went to a
deal.
charity as well for a bit. She and I remember speaking to her and she was just she's like, let's see. Let's see what the future holds. And that stuck with me, because it was like, when people say, let's see, I think they're saying, oh, you'll see what I see in myself.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, let's see, I'm bringing you in on my vision.
Yeah.
I see already. I think all of us see for ourselves. All of us. So many people say, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what you do. Just be honest. You see, but you want other people to buy into it.
Yeah.
And then that's when you feel like it's qualified now. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I would say, if
and
you
there's
see
also that guarding. Sorry to cut you, but I do think
fine.
I hear that a lot too. Like, I don't really know, and I don't where I want to be. Let's see what happens. There's sort of two ways of like that framing itself, where I think some people sort of deliver that in a guarded way, because if it doesn't happen, like, it's like managing expectations for everyone else and themselves. Like, if it doesn't happen, I haven't overcommitted and I haven't said, this is what I'm going to be doing next. So nobody is expecting X. And then if it does happen, poof, we've gone and surprised them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think there's that
do.
little bit of like, and again, we spoke about that before, that kind of
Yeah.
like embarrassment to fail loudly.
Yeah.
That
I love the
takes over.
bravery of, like, I always say my goals online publicly. If I do not
Yeah.
achieve my goals, Rochelle, I dare anyone to be like, ha, Dior, shame you didn't get it. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Like, in what
Are
world
you
does that
joking?
actually happen?
I would just, okay, what are you doing? Tell me about the big, brave things you're doing. Because as a result of pursuing things, even if you miss the mark, you get more of yourself.
Something else falls on your lap.
And even like something else is great, but I think in life, we just want to meet more of ourselves.
Yes.
And even I think in failure, more than success, we meet more of ourselves because you admit things to yourself. You see yourself in a new light. You're honest about that. I really wanted that and it didn't go. I just think you meet just another version of yourself
Yeah.
that you wouldn't have had you not gone for it, had it not failed, had it not succeeded, all these things. So yeah, I dare someone to go up to another person and say, haha, it didn't work.
Didn't work out for you.
It actually did. It worked
Yeah,
out pretty
no, it
well.
actually did.
Yeah.
In the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Let's talk about self-work because we've got quite a few questions here. The first one is, how do you find your purpose?
Big question.
Huge. That's why I paused.
Big
Are
question.
you ready for a big answer?
I know. I've written about this actually in my newsletter. So I'll use myself as an example.
Right.
I pieced together all the random things I liked and called it a career. Period. Like that is it. When I was working in fashion, going into the office every week, I was still this person, but just in a different capacity.
Okay.
And I was learning how to develop one side of it. And then when I started Pepper Your Talk, when it was like more of a fashion career support system, I developed another side of myself. And every time I do something different, I just develop a different side of Dior and I'm getting closer and closer. There's no finished version, by the way, as well. There's so many futures you can keep creating. Once I hit my future self, I'm on to the next. That's why someone's a 40-year-old lawyer trying to be
Yes.
something else, right? Because you
Yes.
hit a future self and you want another one.
Yeah.
So I think finding your purpose is about doing what comes so truly, naturally, beautifully to you and just doing it in the way you know how at that time.
Right.
And then if another layer is revealed and you feel the call to pursue it, do it. That's it. Like I look at people like Oprah and she had a TV, she was on radio,
Yeah.
TV show, magazine, production company. It's like different flavors of the
Books.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just layering different ways to express who you know yourself to be.
Yeah.
That is it. Tell me if I'm right in your career. Do you feel like actually it's always just been about Rochelle, but I've just expressed a different side of me and I'm just doing all the things I love.
And I think as people, this is why I always talk about like that like pivot element, because I think people really like to give you a lane and there's a lane and that's where you're supposed to be. So I was in a girl group. So my lane at that point would probably be doing music, pop music and maybe having a solo album, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to go into TV. And at the time it was a little bit like, what? Why would you want to? I'm like, no, because that's what I want to do. And then I, and so on and so forth and everything that's evolved. But I think as people, I don't just like clothes.
Yeah.
I also like skincare and I also like going to the gym and I also love my family and I also enjoy hanging out with my friends and I love my job and whatever, the list could go on and on and on, because as people we're multifaceted and we're allowed to like more than one thing. And that's sort of the way that I've built my career, being authentically me. And in that same way that I'm passionate about baby skincare, I also love podcasts, which is why we're doing this. I also am very passionate about women, which actually I've managed to make that align.
Exactly.
And I love networking and everything in between. So I think there's ways of you don't have to streamline yourself. I really don't believe
The
that.
expression will build and grow.
Yeah.
And it will all be you. And the purpose is just like the one thing that ties it all together. So like for me, I love giving people access to information. I just love it. If I read a book, I want to tell you about it. If I listen to a podcast, I want to tell you about it.
But that doesn't mean that you do that in one avenue.
No.
So you don't say, I've now launched Pepper Your Talk and that's the only place I'm going to do that. You do live appearances.
Exactly.
You speak. You come on podcasts. Because there's so many different ways that you can.
And I think the purpose is you. It's like how you support the world? How are you of service? How do you give? That's the purpose. And it's so simple. And then the expression. I think most people, they're not trying to figure out their purpose because they know what the thing they love is. And they're trying to figure out what is the expression, the ultimate expression of this.
Yes.
That's what I hear when people say, what is my purpose? And I'm like, the expression, listen, just pick one thing for now. The thing that you feel called to do for now, it will build and it will grow. Just zone in on like what is so authentically you. That's your purpose. It's so simple. Don't complicate it.
Yeah, don't overthink. All right, next one.
Yeah.
I love this. Prompts to ask yourself on a day that you are doubting yourself.
I always default actually to
Right.
my goal,
Okay.
which sounds like it's not a prompt, right? But for me, it's reminding myself of the mission. Why am I doing this? Because my goal, my future self goal, is very specific and it's been vetted to ensure that not only does it build the business, it builds me.
Right.
So when I feel down or doubtful, I remind myself of the specific goal that I'm going for. And I remind myself that if I stop or if I allow negative emotions to consume me, I don't get to not just have the business, I don't get to be that woman. And she's way more important to me than money, the business. I love my community, but ultimately I have to think about me first. And I really, really want to meet that woman in totality. I'm elements of her now. And every day as I take steps towards building the business, I become more and more of her. But I want to see that full picture come true. So doubt doesn't support me in doing that. So I remind myself, Dior, if you stop, if you allow these negative thoughts to consume you, you don't get to have that goal. You don't get to be that woman.
Yes.
And you can take a step back, breathe, remind yourself of who you are, and then keep going.
Yeah, it's just not, it's not letting that, it's almost like if you was to break it down, it's like not letting this doubt and this funk you're in for half an hour, an hour that day beat the future self.
Because that doubt's then
Yes.
defining me when I've already defined me in my future self.
Yes.
So this small feeling, and I'm going to make it small because doubt can feel big, but make it small and just don't make it bigger than where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's powerful. That is very powerful. Oh, I like this. How do you balance living in the now, but also taking steps for your future self?
I love that question. Why I love it is because people think the now is different to the future. And what I mean by that is there is no now. Anything we're doing now is either more of the past or more of the future.
Right.
So by saying I'm living in the now, by default, if you have a future self and you're living to meet your future self, is living in the future. You're actually being that future self today.
Right.
So you wait, and I'll break it down. So you wake up and you think, what would my past self do? Maybe snooze my alarm and go back to bed. What would my future self do? Should just get up straight away. Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get in the shower. Right? That's what my future self would do. And that's how you live in the now, by constantly thinking about the future you're building and how you use today to build that. So people think there's a difference between now and the future. There is, time is the difference, right?
Yeah.
But actually, when you get to the future, that will be the now. So there isn't really a difference. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So you either choose more of the past or the future. Simple as that.
Yeah. So it's, if you're like, well, this, I'm following.
Yeah.
I'm following.
Good.
It took me a minute to break it down, but I know exactly what you mean because it's like when people use that term, well, this is just me. Mm-hmm. Well, no, that's been you. But the person you want to get to be does things a little differently.
Unless you just want to
unless you just do it now, and then you're in the now.
Yeah, exactly.
But also in the future, because that's the person you designed. Yeah.
And it's in Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book. He says, it's better to fail at the lowest level of your future self than to succeed at the highest level of your present self, which means if you have a future self and you want more of the future, perpetuating this, continuing to do this doesn't give you that. So it's better to be the worst version of the future, knowing that I'm going to get better at this, than the best version and feeling like you've graduated and being your present self.
Yes.
And there's nowhere
to be done.
There's nowhere to go from here. This is it, which is actually not true because that's not what you want more of.
Yes.
So be the lowest version of your future
self.
Yeah.
Love that. There are so many good questions.
I know. I'm loving this, by the way.
I'm going to elaborate on that one a little bit. Because obviously our future self can mean so many different things in terms of personal and business. How do you think is the best way to balance personal and business goals? Because sometimes they can conflict, or it feels like they're a little bit conflicting. Like for example, my personal goals would probably be, this might sound silly, but like get better at my children's homework. Because it's not by default my strong suit, it's my husband's strong suit. So I would always be like when he's away and I have to oversee homework, I'm like, namaste. Like, I find it like a real thing. And I think I've sort of, academically, I'm not, which is hilarious because my eldest is nearly 12. But academically, you know, I'm not there where, like, in a way to be able to tutor her through that and problem solve. When I was at school, I learned stuff just to pass the test. I didn't retain anything. And I feel like ChatGPT is my best friend on the sly, whilst going, 1 second, darling, let me just run to help your brother, whilst searching it and then coming back with how to teach. So one of my personal goals, that's on the list, to be better at that. However, that can then conflict my business goals, which mean working harder or putting more time there. Like, you know, I think sometimes it can be conflicting because what you want to focus on more in the personal can then be overshadowed by business and vice versa. So what is the best way, do you believe, to balance the two? Can they both exist at once?
They can. Good analogy, by the way, from your real life. So thanks for sharing that. I would really question, do you really want to be better at the homework? Really, like when you think about all the things that you want to teach your amazing daughters and what is important in life, I mean, what you want them to get from you.
Yeah. Well, probably not, because it's not, when you put it like that, it's not my strong suit, but I think it's the thing that I don't deliver for them, and my want and goal is to be able to deliver in all aspects for my kids, like my personal goal. But I really fumble the bag when it comes to that. But yeah, I suppose if you put it in layman's terms, do I want to be great at that? Because no, Marvin is actually better. So they probably should learn from the best rather than someone that's really trying to be the best for them, you know.
And if Marvin was there all the time and you never had to do it, you probably wouldn't, because there's so many other things that you do remarkably for them. And actually that's just not something you need. But if it is something you want, you're like, no, Dior, it's really a desire.
Yeah.
It's part of my future
self-vision. I think it's more of a desire of, I want to always be able to provide for them in the best way. And that is something that I don't give in abundance. And I'm like, oh, Blake and Valley's homework, that's great. And I'm really like, I think I'm unreal. I think I'm a genius. Alea, not so much. But I also think that maybe I just give her a nice meal when she's finished. Maybe that's what I deliver. Maybe it is just knowing what you're good at. Like, I'm not going to become a mathematician overnight. It's not going to help. So I'm probably not the best placed person to be able to teach her. Like, I acknowledge that, but at the same time, I wish I was.
So that's the thing. I wish I was, but like, do I deeply desire to be?
No.
Probably not. Exactly.
No. Yeah.
So then we have to then prioritize what your real goals are, like as a mom and as a businesswoman, and say, oh, that's a secondary one. And actually I'm stressing myself and just doing too much and trying to be all things when I don't need to be.
Yeah.
When I can just let that thing go. It's not up there.
Yeah.
It's something that
and it's probably not a great thing to actually be teaching as a parent. When you break it down, and I'm only thinking about this in real time as you're saying this, to be teaching as a parent, because I'm almost saying, like,
you got to be everything.
You've
all the
got
time,
to be everything, where that
everything.
actually isn't mummy's strong suit. And listen, she bloody knows. Yeah. I'm not being funny. If she asks one of us for homework, she's not going, Mummy, what do you think about?
But she
like,
knows what
can
she
I
can
just
come
ask
to you for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what, literally love that example. That is how you balance it. You have to get so honest with yourself. So I do this task with people. It's like intentional goal setting for like the new year and stuff like that. Write down all your goals and then write down why next to each one. That simple 3-letter word reveals so much. In coaching, we're actually taught, like, don't say why too much, because it makes people very defensive, and then they start defending things that they don't even really care about, but they feel like they
When
need
you've
to protect
just asked them why.
Yeah, it's an
I
it becomes
see
an
that.
armor.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, well, actually. But anyway, write down your goals, write down why. When you look at your why, a lot of the time you're going to see that answer it doesn't hold. It's not real. You don't really want that thing. It's either influenced by other people, expectations, it's something you thought about once or a few times, and now it's been in your brain enough to feel like it's true, but it's not. So once you write that down, then pick which ones are the strongest, have the strongest whys. And actually, is that the picture you want of your life? And typically it is. And the ones that have the weak whys and all the whys that are linked to expectations and other people, just literally chuck them out. Never look at them again. And you see that the life that you build from the strong whys is the real life you want. And everything else is a nice to have, secondary. If I have time to get to that, I'll do it. But just don't concern yourself with it. So I would say how you balance business and personal is get very clear on what do I really want.
It's almost like like you say, that list and then that secondary list.
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything at once.
Absolutely not. And sometimes you just are not going to get to things in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And just being so okay with that. As I say to a lot of like young entrepreneurs, give yourself permission to not do everything, which is so hard because you want to be excellent and you want to be the best. You don't have a team. You don't have people helping you. You don't have all the time in the world, probably working full time whilst building the business on the side. But you're like, but this person has an Instagram, has a photo shoot, this. Okay, but you don't have the resources, the time, the energy, the team.
And nothing does happen overnight. Even if you see someone and think they're doing something small and this is their kind of like lift off, that hasn't happened overnight.
Straight
that didn't
away,
happen
exactly.
after the first step. Like, it's, what did they say, that something like, I can't remember, somebody famous said it one time, and they basically said people call them an overnight success. It's like I've come on your radar overnight, but this has taken me
10 years
15 years
to be an overnight
point.
success. There's actually like a proper theory, I think it's in the Outliers, where every like composer or this, like they did research on them and they were actually writing music, doing all the things for specifically 10 years before they were discovered. Like, it's actually a thing. Life will somewhat hide you, but we're going off. Like, we're going into something else.
But it's important to know that. It is important because everybody sees that kind of outside noise and other people, and I think we do live in a world where social media and everything else that comes with it is comparative, but actually 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah, and when you really have a clear vision of your future self, your business goals and your life goals align. Yeah. Because I say to people, do not dare pursue a business that is going to make you become a person that you don't want to be. Yeah. Some people are like, I want a business where I'm going to raise venture capital and I want to exit. And I'm like, and then what do you want to happen in your personal life? I want this and this and this. It doesn't really go.
That's not going to,
It doesn't really go. You can try and pursue it, but the likelihood is you're going to reach the top and say, I don't really want to be here.
That other part, that personal part, isn't happy. You know, it kind of, something does have to give when it's not realistically
exactly
you.
So it's like, actually we do it in the membership, like we confirm the goal against your future self. So you design your future self first, then you set your business goal, and then we go back and check that by pursuing that business goal it makes you this woman, and if it doesn't, don't do it. Like, don't chase that goal because it's going to give you success in the goal element but not in the personal life element. So
and what do you value more?
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Oh, this is a good one. I've like ordered them into like starting out, career changes, self-work, other. This is under other. Each job I've had, I've fallen into. How do I pinpoint the career that's actually for me?
Life is so wonderful in that it will organize you. It will help. It will like shuffle you into a category. Yes. It will shuffle you into a lane. And I think this person is thinking that because they weren't intentional and deliberate, that they haven't found their thing yet.
Right.
I don't believe that to be true. I think so many opportunities have opened up to me accidentally because I either said I wanted something or I kind of started trying something and then I realized that, actually, this is how you do this instead. And actually, I want to pursue this instead. So what I would say to them is, it sounds like you're not giving life, You're not realizing that maybe life has you exactly where you're supposed to be. And just because it wasn't methodical and intentional and deliberate, it doesn't mean you haven't found your thing.
Yes.
And what is it? What's the common thread? Actually, I just want to shout out my friend Velma, because I think her career is a lot like this. She was really intentional about wanting to be in music, and now she's in hospitality. And every job she's gone to has been through a contact or someone seeing something in her. I wouldn't ever expect her to say, oh, I've just fallen into this.
It's
no.
so true.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
People have seen a skill set in you, a gift in you. You've nurtured this thing within you as well, where you're a natural people's person. You're genuinely kind and understanding and caring. And those soft skills have supported you, but you have the hard skills too. You've transferred skills to go from one industry to the next. A door has opened for you, and then you've grown into that position.
Yeah.
So I think it's the battle of two halves, where you have the lawyer who wants to go and do something completely different, who's had a really step-by-step path, and it's like, I want something else, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got somebody else who's like, doors have just opened accidentally, and it's like, no, now I really want to know.
And I wonder how much, and I'd be, obviously we don't have them at the other end of the phone, but I'd be really interested to know how much of that is somebody else's opinion of, well, it always works out for you. Everything seems to fall in your lap.
Yeah.
Like that might be somebody else's idea
that.
of how your career has looked, and actually maybe they're on a kind of personal mission to say, actually, no, I'm going to set out to do this, and this is now what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Where, like you say, that doors don't open by an accident, and there's a quality in you that everybody sees, which is why
Exactly.
things are falling your
Yeah.
way.
What if you're exactly where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
and everything has happened exactly as it was supposed to happen, and this is just your path?
There you go. This is an interesting one. How to deal with criticism at work, especially when you don't feel like it's valid.
Oh, I had this actually in the membership. We discussed this.
Right.
It really goes back to mind over matter.
Okay.
If you don't think it's valid, you don't have to take it on board. You don't have to do anything from that space, which sounds like absurd, because it's like, okay, well, someone's telling me I'm not good at this. Surely I should try and be better at it. You don't have to. You can choose how you take in that information. So you're saying it's not valid. Clearly it doesn't land for you. Choose a thought that keeps you blissfully moving forward without that person's opinion affecting you. That's it. So if somebody says, actually, you're not really good at running meetings, and you don't think it's valid, you truly have like critically looked at all the angles of this and said, I think it's not true. Then find that thought that's going to keep you at peace and confident in yourself, and keep moving forward. And that thought could literally be, that's not true.
Yeah, it could be as simple as that.
It could be as simple as that, right? You don't have to take it on. But if you feel like you want to take it on, and you want to kind of be a well-rounded person who can potentially look at things from somebody else's point of view, then think about, okay, what are the practical next steps of getting better at this thing?
Right.
What actually is that? So if it, again, back to the meeting thing, you're not good at holding meetings. Okay, let's break down all the elements of a meeting. What is it? Is it how I come into a meeting? Actually, maybe I could be a bit warmer. Let me try and see. You could literally, it's called deliberate practice, right? Like breaking down every element of a process and zeroing on each piece and seeing how you can kind of perfect each piece so that the whole thing becomes like really strong. But you break it all down. Or you can just say, it's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can reframe it whichever way you want. Like,
Yeah.
are you open to learning about yourself?
Exactly.
Or are you very self-assured that actually I know that isn't true, and we have to coexist in the same place? So I'm going to hold that thought and move on.
And from the sounds of that question, it sounds like the person
Doesn't believe that.
Yeah, but it's like kind of taking offense a
Yes,
little bit.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
It feels like that.
Yeah, move on from it. It's fine.
Yes, there you go. And lastly, lots of people are inspired by you.
Are they?
Yeah. Listen, we all are, girl. We all are. So I want to be a life coach. I'm getting practice. How do I step up and earn full time?
So with coaching, there's two parts to it. There's a practical coaching skill. So you can go and do a course. Coaching is unregulated. Anyone can actually be a coach. But you can go and do a course. I did two because I really was like, I want to be the best.
Yeah.
So I'm going to learn from the best and I'm going to keep learning. And then there's the marketing. And that's the side a lot of people overlook. They don't realize that essentially you are the business.
Yeah.
And now you have to put yourself out there in a way where the ideal client that you want to work with, whether you're niche or whether you're a general coach, comes to you or recognizes you and sees that you can help them go from A to B, that you can create the transformation they want in their life. A lot of people are really good at the coaching, really bad at the marketing. Really bad at the marketing.
Yeah.
Because it's not what they set out to do. They set out to coach, not set out to be on social media.
Yeah.
And be on podcasts, for example. A lot of people don't want to do all that extra stuff. They think it's vanity and it's just like that's...
Did that come natural to you, or is that something you had to push yourself to be better at?
That's what I did first.
Yeah.
Like I created my first event for my friends, spent like, I think like £700 for no reason. Got a videographer, hired a space, just because I just felt like I had something to say.
And because you understood that actually people need to talk about something
This was
for
pre-coaching.
it to appear on their radar.
Yeah, this was 2014. I just knew I had things to say.
Right.
I didn't ever think I was going to be a life coach at that point. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was still working full-time at Burberry. Like I just felt like I just have more in me and I just want to build a community around like talking about things.
Yeah.
So that stuff came first.
Right.
And then, which is why I love the purpose question. Because I always knew I wanted like community, information, supporting people, layering information, allowing people to like start at one point knowing nothing and then getting them to a point where they're like, oh my God, everything you teach, I get it. It's so clear to me. I don't want to be like this guru, oracle, God. I want to have a conversation with someone and we're just vibing because I've taught you everything I know and I'm not like trying to gatekeep
You're not
the
gatekeeping.
information.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that and I've always been like that. So that stuff comes naturally to me. So I don't have the problem of like, I don't want to market myself. It's almost like, okay, I want to do everything. What should I want to do YouTube. I want to do all these things. What do
But
I
you're
have
right.
time
And that
for?
comes down to everything. Like you can, you know, in terms of like products, like you can have and have created the best product in the world. But if nobody knows it exists, it's not going to sell.
It's not exactly.
And you've not got a customer.
And the point of business is to make profit. It's a for-profit activity. So when you're a coach, and coaching is a very profitable business because you have little overheads. You do not have to have an office.
Yeah.
You do not have to. You're not selling products, so there's no inventory. It is it's a direct value exchange. Right. And you price your value at whatever you feel like your value is. So if I'm saying I'm £700 an hour, that's up to you to say, because that's what you feel like the value exchange is, right? It's extremely profitable.
And the right customer will get it if there's, you know, however that looks.
But without marketing, it's not going to happen. So I would say simplify it. Pick one marketing channel, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever feels like the most authentic experience of what it would be like
Your
to work with
service.
you. Pick that one channel and go all in. Just go all in. And when I say go all in, I'm not saying 3 videos a day. I'm just saying pick a cadence that you can be consistent with. Pick a style that you're like excited to deliver on, but also a bit scared to do, so you can grow into that skill set as well. And then keep testing, not changing things every day because then you don't know what's working, but set a time frame to test something. Measure the results, see if it's working or not, maybe add or take away. But marketing it's a really key part. And there's like easy ways to do it where you can borrow audiences, where someone's built a community and you can say, look, just tell your community about me and I will give you 10% of everyone who comes through.
Right.
Then you don't even have to get on all the
smart.
social media and do exactly. So there's different ways to do it. But without marketing,
nobody's going to know.
You don't have a business. You have an amazing skill that you just keep for
but
yourself.
You're not reaching people. And the whole point is that, you know, being a life coach, you want to reach people, you want to help people.
Exactly.
So people have to know.
Yeah.
Well, as always, my girl.
I've loved this so much.
Thank you so much. I
Keep
love
going.
it. So I'm like, this can't ever not be a part of this show now. This is like, honestly, I love it so much. And as I said before, the reason for bringing this back in this way is that I know that a lot of people don't have access to a life coach, are just learning what it means to have a life coach. Lots of my friends are like, girl, I didn't know there was such thing as a life coach.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? How do we get involved? So I think to do this and to give everybody access Brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Let's democratize all the things that people can't readily access.
Yes.
And this is just one way. So yeah, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you, my girl. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss out, because next week we're going to be talking to another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, please don't forget to follow us on YouTube and don't forget to like and subscribe.